Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fluent English with Podcast. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Alan. Today we're going to be talking about something many of you might be experiencing soon, or maybe you already have your first job.
Absolutely. Having that first job can be a great way to improve your independence, learn new skills, and of course, earn some money.
But it can also be a little nerve-wracking, right? There's a lot to learn about working in a professional environment.
That's exactly why we're here. Fluent English with Podcast is all about helping you improve your listening and speaking skills through fun and engaging conversations.
Exactly. Today, we'll not only be discussing the topic of your first job, but we'll also be learning some key vocabulary that will help you navigate that new work environment.
So grab a pen and paper if you'd like to take some notes, and let's dive into the world of your first job.
We've both had some interesting experiences with our first jobs. Sophie, can you tell us a bit about yours?
Sure. My first job was at a small ice cream shop. It was a great way to meet new people and learn about customer service.
That sounds fun. My first job was working at a library. It was a quiet environment, but I learned a lot about organization and responsibility.
Exactly. We've also heard stories from listeners about working in restaurants, babysitting, and even walking dogs. There are so many different types of first jobs out there.
Let's learn some important words related to jobs.
Today's words are employer, the person or company that hires you for a job. A synonym can be boss.
Employee, the person who works for an employer.
Coworker, someone who works with you at the same company. A synonym is colleague.
Training, learning the skills you need to do your job well.
Position, the specific job you have at a company. A synonym can be role.
Team, a group of people who work together on a project.
Skills, the abilities you have that help you do your job. Some examples are communication, teamwork, problem solving.
Great. These words will come up often as we talk about first jobs. Now let's hear from our first guest, Olivia. Olivia, tell us about your first job.
Hi, Sophie and Alan. My first job was working at a local bookstore. I was the employee, and the owner of the store was my employer. It was a small shop, so I worked closely with just one other person, so she was my only coworker. At first, I needed some training on how to use the cash register and how to organize the books on the shelves. My position was a sales associate, so I helped customers find the books they were looking for. I also learned a lot of new communication skills because I interacted with customers all day long.
Thanks, Olivia. That sounds like a great learning experience. Did you enjoy working at the bookstore?
Yes, I did. I love reading, so it was fun to be surrounded by books all day.
It's interesting that you mentioned communication skills. Those are important in any job.
Absolutely. Now, let's take a quick listen to a conversation between two friends, Sarah and Ben, talking about their first jobs. See if you can hear the vocabulary words we just learned being used.
Hey Ben, so I just got my first job. I'm going to be working at a coffee shop.
Wow, congrats, Sarah. That's exciting. What's your position going to be?
I'm going to be a barista. I'll need some training on how to make all the different coffee drinks.
Cool. I bet you'll learn a lot of new skills. My first job was working at a grocery store as a cashier. It wasn't the most glamorous job, but I learned a lot about responsibility and working with a team.
So, Sophie, what did you think about that conversation?
I thought it was a great example of how our vocabulary words can be used in everyday situations. Sarah and Ben were talking about their positions, the training they would need, and even working as part of a team.
Exactly.
It's great to hear how different everyone's first job experiences can be. Now, let's hear from our next guest, David. David, tell us about your first job.
Hi, Sophie and Alan. My first job was washing dishes at a local restaurant. It wasn't the most glamorous position, but it taught me a lot about hard work and responsibility. My employer was the head chef, and I worked with a big team of other kitchen staff. There wasn't a lot of formal training, but I learned a lot by watching the other cooks. I also developed some great teamwork skills because we all had to work together to get the dishes done quickly.
Thanks, David. That sounds like a valuable learning experience, even though it wasn't the most glamorous job.
Absolutely, it definitely helped me prepare for future jobs.
That's a great point, David. Many first jobs teach you valuable skills that you can use throughout your working life. Now, let's listen to another conversation between two people discussing their first jobs. See if you can hear the vocabulary words we've learned used again.
Hey Daniel, guess what? I just got my first job. I'm going to be working at a summer camp as a counselor.
Wow, Maria, that's amazing. What kind of age group will you be working with?
I'll be working with kids from 5 to 7 years old. I'll need some training on how to keep them safe and entertained. I think it will be a great way to develop my communication and teamwork skills.
That sounds like a fun position. My first job was working as a newspaper delivery person. It wasn't a big team, but I learned a lot about responsibility and time management.
So, Alan, what did you think about that conversation?
I thought it was another great example. Maria and Daniel were talking about the kind of training they would need for their new positions and the different skills they would develop.
Exactly. It's amazing to see the variety of experiences people have in their first jobs. Now, let's hear from our final guest, Noah. Noah, tell us about your first job.
Hi, Sophie and Alan. My first job was working as a dog walker in my neighborhood. I wasn't an official employee of a company, but I worked for several different people as their dog walker. There wasn't any formal training, but I learned a lot about responsibility and animal care. It wasn't a big team, but I did meet a lot of new people and their furry friends.
Thanks, Noah. That sounds like a fun and unique first job.
It definitely was. I got to spend time outdoors and exercise, and I learned a lot about different dog breeds.
That's great, Noah. It's important to find a first job that you enjoy. Now, let's listen to one last conversation between two people about their first jobs. See if you can hear the vocabulary words we've learned used in context.
Hey Emily, did you hear? I just got my first job working at a movie theater.
Wow, Liam, that's so cool. What will your position be?
I'm going to be selling tickets and concession stand snacks. I'll need some training on how to use the cash register and the popcorn machine.
That sounds fun. I bet you'll learn a lot of new customer service skills. My first job was babysitting for a family in my neighbourhood. It wasn't a big team, but I learned a lot about responsibility and patience.
So, Alan, what are your thoughts on that conversation?
I thought it was a perfect way to wrap up our segment on first jobs. Liam and Emily discussed their new positions, the training they would need, and the skills they would develop.
Exactly.
Now, we have another listener with us today who wants to share their first job experience. Welcome back, Dylan. Tell us a bit about your first job.
Thanks, Alan. My first job was working at a local amusement park. It wasn't the most glamorous position, but it was a lot of fun. My employer was the park manager, and I worked with a big team of other employees in different areas of the park. There wasn't a lot of formal training, but I learned a lot by helping out in different areas and observing how things worked. I also developed some great customer service skills because I interacted with park guests all day long.
Thanks for sharing your experience, Dylan. It sounds like you learned a lot in your first job.
Absolutely. It definitely helped me prepare for future jobs, especially when it comes to working with people and being flexible.
That's a great point, Dylan. Many first jobs teach you valuable skills that you can use throughout your working life. Okay, today we learned some key vocabulary words to help you navigate the working world, heard from listeners about their experiences, and even listened to conversations about different first jobs.
So let's do a quick recap of those vocabulary words. Employer, employee, coworker, training, position, team, and skills.
No matter what your first job turns out to be, these words will be incredibly useful as you start your professional journey.
Exactly. Remember, your first job doesn't have to be your dream job, but it can be a fantastic way to gain valuable skills and experience that will benefit you later on.
Here are some additional tips to help you make the most of your first job.
Be reliable and punctual. Showing up on time and being someone your employer can count on will make a great first impression.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's better to seek clarification than make a mistake. There's no shame in not knowing something.
Be a team player. Lend a helping hand to your coworkers and collaborate effectively on projects. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work.
Maintain a positive attitude. A good attitude can significantly impact your job satisfaction. Approach your work with a smile and a willingness to learn.
We hope these tips help you have a positive and successful first job experience. Remember, this is just the beginning of your exciting professional journey.
Absolutely. If you have any questions about first jobs or anything else related to English, feel free to leave a comment in the podcast section below. We're always happy to help.
Thanks for joining us on Fluent English with Podcast. We'll see you next time for another informative and engaging episode.